Our first presentation this morning is going to be Content Planning and Execution, given by Ms. Tracy Badicon. She is the Chief of the Digital Media Division with the U.S. Coast Guard Office of Public Affairs. She leads the Coast Guard's public website, social media, and multimedia programs. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Tracy Badicon.
Good morning, everybody. So how's everybody doing this morning? Awesome. Before we get started, I just got to ask, how many people, before they arrived for this event this week, planned to be here? What did you do to plan? Just tell me. You packed. Okay, what else? Hotel. What else? Yes, planned your media posts. What else? Restaurants, yes. Ask for permission from your boss, yes. That is true. What else? Yeah. Okay, absolutely. Yes, what else? So since you, okay. Cat sitter, dog sitter. What about your public affairs messaging? Did you plan that out too? Because you knew you were going to be gone? Did you ask? Yes? Thumbs up, yes? All right. So great. You're already in a good place today. So just to share a little bit of information about me. You've already heard it. Moving on. I do have to have this disclaimer because I had a wonderful chat with our JAG who wanted me to remind everybody that anything that is not .mil or .gov is simply being shared for research purposes, but it is not a promotion or endorsement. Moving on. All right, let's have a little icebreaker. All right, so currently there are more than 400 plus social media official accounts with the Coast Guard. And these are some of our favorite ones. I was going to put Twitter up there, but X marks the spot. All right. And we do metrics reviews weekly. We track our top posts and our engagements. I have a great social media team, PA1 Tara Molkar and PA1 David Waitert, as well as PA2 Riley Prokosky. And we track everything from our post reach, our engagement, and our top posts. And yes, we just celebrated our birthday at the beginning of August. Now, what are some of the challenges that you all have when it comes to planning your social media? It got really quiet. Say that one more time.
Coordinating strategy with our headquarters.
Is that fun for you? No. Absolutely. So yes, you've got to coordinate with headquarters. What else?
Recognition months.
Oh, yes, those annual observances. They always have to be in the calendar, right? What else? Yes? What about time? Can you expand on that? Having enough time. And how do you do that?
On time, but I was saying that the message is timely.
Yes.
That you're talking about something that's happening now, not something that happened a month ago, 2 months ago, that it's already moved on, but you keep it current with whatever you're talking about.
Absolutely. You had your hand up?
I was going to say something along the same lines, like balancing strategy and approvals from leadership with the timeliness of social media, how fast it's changing.
Absolutely.
I was also going to say, depending on where your audience is, the time of day, that they're going to be looking at social media.
Absolutely. Yes.
It has to go through multiple levels of review each post before it can be published.
How many levels of review do you have to go through? Is it more than 5? Greater than?
Yeah.
Yeah? Is that fun? Is it, wait, what was that? Timely? No. Not really. Okay. Yes.
Balancing the level of original content we're generating versus promoting partners and sharing efforts that we're engaged in jointly.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just the content, having the content on hand
So what types of content are you referring to?
Multimedia content, video, photos, having all of those on deck so that we can integrate them into the calendar.
And that takes time. Absolutely. Yes?
Monitoring the information environment to ensure that the content we have planned is still appropriate in the case there's events or activities that might make it appear that we're tone deaf if we continue posting that plan.
Absolutely. So all of you have basically shared with me and the rest of the folks online some of the challenges with planning social media content. And that can kind of make you sometimes feel like Chris Pine in Dungeons and Dragons when it comes to planning. Oh, it went too fast. Pardon me 1 second. Yeah. Oh. It's about to start. There.
What is it exactly that you bring to this?
I'm a planner. I make plans.
You've already made the plan, so
If the existing plan fails, I make a new plan.
you make plans that fail.
No,
He also plays the lute.
not relevant.
I know a lot of people kind of feel that way when they make their social media plans, like, oh my God, I've made this plan, it's great, it's amazing. I got every level on the planet to sign off on it. Now I have to change plans. Or something emerging happened, like, you know, breaking news. So then what do you do? So that's why we're here to talk about content planning and strategy. Bear with me a second. We are going to get this back online in just a minute. A little help from my friends. So what happens when you don't plan? Right? Mass, we're on it. No, no, South Dakota. How they got that passed legal, I don't know. And then more recently, a social media influencer a couple weeks ago decided that it would be a good idea to give out PS5s and just invite all of his followers to the middle of New York to give them out without contacting anyone in law enforcement, local leaders, and it ended in a riot. Lack of planning. Now, these things can be avoided with just a few quick tips. So some of the benefits of advanced planning include the fact that it helps you prepare content, it helps you identify your communication goals that meet your target audience's WIFM. Everybody knows what WIFM is, right? What is it? What's in it for me? Thank you. All right. And then number two, it helps you build those connections with your online community, not just through engagement, but also encouraging them to take actions and also educating them about who you are and the people that create your mission. So a February 2023 Business News Daily article said that your target audience cannot be everyone. How many times have you been in a social media planning strategy meeting with folks and you're like, okay, great, we want to help you with your content. Who's your target audience? Everyone. No, it cannot be everyone. People have to identify what their communication goals are. They have to talk about who they are really trying to share information with, engage, and then also at the same time, identify visuals, video, and other interactive media for that messaging. So let's talk about how do you currently identify your target audiences? What do you do? What did you say? Okay. What else? What else do you do to identify your target audiences? Research, thank you. Absolutely. And that allows you to get things in order. All right. So some of our target audiences include students, the maritime community, and then we also have interagency partners that help and work with us on law enforcement interdictions and rescues. And so Those are the folks that we create all of our social media content for. Now, a 2021 Forbes.com article basically said that we need to create digital messages where our audiences are. So that research and knowing who our target audiences are means that we know what channels they use, whether it's YouTube, X, Instagram, and then creating messages for those particular platforms. So here's a content planning guide. Once you get past the WIFM, then you have to go and think about the channels. So when you're thinking about your target audience, what their demographics are, you can say, wait, this message is better for Instagram. Or if it's a video, you might want to put it on Instagram and YouTube. Or if it's something that's a little bit longer in a video, or it's got a little bit more text information and visuals, then you consider X and Facebook. Sometimes people believe that when you're building social media content and your strategy, all you need to do is just get that reel together, pull that B-roll together, find those visuals in your music, and then just put it out there. But you also have to consider a couple other things, because at the same time, your creative direction includes making sure you build, promote, and protect your brand. And then once you've gotten that message together with your content planning, measure your results. See if it's actually reaching the target audience that you're trying to reach, and then determine if you need to make any course corrections. So we talked about WIFM. Now, here's just a little bit of information about what's the best type of content to put on the different platforms. And just a show of hands, how many people use Instagram? Okay. What about X? Yeah. Facebook. A lot of people still using Facebook? Okay. YouTube. Okay. Now, I know there are other newer platforms that are coming out, and hopefully we'll hear some guidance on whether or not we can use those, but these are the ones that military organizations and the federal government use as their official platforms.
Tracy, was your question about our usage personally or professionally? Organizations or us?
Professionally, yes. Personal use, so that's a very good question. Did everybody hear it? So is the question about social media planning for personal use or professionally? Professionally. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today.
No, I was asking, you asked about our usage of the platform.
Right.
You're asking
For a professional,
Okay.
yes. So which ones do you use for your organization? Okay. LinkedIn. And how's it going on your platforms? What did you do different?
New leadership.
Oh, congratulations. New leadership, new team, new plans. All right.
Collaboration.
Wait, say that one more time.
Collaboration.
And that's the key to really good social media content planning, collaboration. Thank you. Yes.
They should interact, the personal and professional, because there's several people who know me personally, who turn around and follow me professionally.
Did you want to use the mic?
Sorry, can you just use?
Your platforms should be interchangeable, because many people knew you personally, and by knowing you personally, they turn around and follow you professionally, or they see you're professionally there, and then they turn around and follow you personally. And if your personal site reflects badly on your profession, you've basically lost your audience. because they're like, wait a minute, why are you doing this here, but you're saying this here? So they really should interact if you are a social media person.
Interesting. Before I answer that, does everybody agree with that, that you're personal and you're professional? No? Why not? Wait, what did you say? Okay, but, okay.
From our organization, we have lots of these professional platforms, but my name isn't on the tweets and the posts and the LinkedIn, so my personal accounts are completely separate from my professional persona, and the two should not meet. So I actually kind of, and there are some professions that might be different, it just doesn't work for our organization.
And so I have to agree with you. Oh, go ahead.
Also, if you're running into that issue, you can also create for your personal pages, create a pseudonym so they can't find you on it. So you're not putting your personal stuff out there if that's a huge issue, if you're clashing with your organization.
So on behalf of the Army Reserve, where we have soldiers and citizens, I might have a sergeant major who runs a tattoo shop, and he's got to promote that business as he is out of uniform, but he also might be a social media manager. So I can only speak for the reserve, but I mean, there's a reason that the quote is, when we commissioned the soldier, we didn't set aside the citizen. So I think you absolutely, I think it speaks to everything great about the reserve when they can see Sergeant Major has his tattoo parlor, but then he's also professionally in a different space. We want that in the reserve, so I respectfully disagree. It can hurt the situation based on what? If he is, like, give me the example of the injury.
Okay, so in your example, you're saying a sergeant major who owns a tattoo shop, correct?
Sure, tattoo parlor, yep.
So what if he does an offensive tattoo? And that could be offensive. Now anything and everything can be offensive. Can you hear me over there? Is that okay?
It's for the online.
It's a live stream.
Man, no, it feels so bad. So what if he has an offensive tattoo and all of a sudden now you wrap in the entire reserve based on one person's personal business?
An offensive tattoo, so I'm
you're saying,
I'm trying to follow you.
Okay, because the point I'm trying, you're saying you want it separate.
Yeah, he's saying separate them.
I think we're on the same page then.
Because
All right, then.
yeah,
I apologize.
No, you're good.
I apologize.
You're good.
Yeah,
you're good.
Right.
No, but the idea that your personal page and your professional page need to mirror each other is it's I think in a lot of ways it's an impossibility in the reserve for that very reason.
All right. Well, that was awesome how that was resolved. So just to clarify, my perspective is, and this is what we also do in the Coast Guard, it's also part of DOD's policy, and because we are also under the Department of Homeland Security, your social media personal account has to be separate from your organizational account, period. We do have...
Ma'am?
Yes.
I was just going to add that a lot of times what we do, I'm with the Department of Veteran Affairs, we put a disclaimer if we have a personal account, and it just says, this is a personal account, does not reflect the opinion of my organization.
Thank you. All right. So that was lively. Oh, developing engaging posts. I think we just had one. All right. So there's a couple of ways that you can basically come up with some engaging posts. And again, it's collaboration. Thank you again. That includes not only working with your leadership to find out what their priorities are, that includes also talking with your program offices, the people in the field, and getting that ground truth of what's going on locally as well as national headlines to come up with engaging posts. That can help you create national level strategies You can also work on campaigns. For example, we have a boating safety campaign that we put out on social media. It's especially important during summer months when there are more people out on the water. And so we make sure we add that into our content throughout the summer months. And yes, annual observances. So DINFOS Pavilion has some really great tools and research. And on the Pavilion, they also have a storytelling, strategic development tactic information. And it helps you put together all of your content, make it tactical, but at the same time, your goal is to create digital storytelling that will build online communities. You also want to engage your audiences, but at the same time, you want to help them achieve goals. Sometimes people are looking for recruitment opportunities. Sometimes people are looking to meet regulatory industry requirements. For us, it's boating safety, maritime requirements, and then also jobs. How many people have updated their social media post schedule this week once or twice? Exactly, because things keep going even though you've made plans. And so having that calendar of content already planned out also allows you to have wiggle room for emerging topics. So at the Coast Guard, we post 3 to 5 times a week on our platforms. How many people do the same thing? Are you having fun getting content out 3 to 5 times a week, or is it just really hard? Yeah. But that's also a good thing to have more than one person working on your team with that content, working with some of the experts to create that engaging type of post. So this calendar template is something that you could also find a similar one on DINFOS Pavilion. We use something similar at Coast Guard. And again, we regularly update it, and it helps us because on occasion we'll just get tapped from any number of organizations, including the White House, to put out breaking news. Let's talk about algorithms. Show of hands, how many people are comfortable with the change in the algorithms? No one. All right, so the best way to describe algorithms is, anybody in here have a Netflix subscription? Don't you hate it when you turn on your Netflix and it's like, this is recommended for you based on your previous viewing choices? Same thing with algorithms for social media. It will go and say, okay, we want to reorganize what is a priority for some of the social content viewers. And there's no rhyme or reason. It continues to change depending on the platform, which makes it really hard to see if your engagement is actually working or if your post is getting out to your target audience. This is another DINFOS Pavilion social media post template planning document. I find it is very helpful. Our team likes it. I've shared it with other folks. And this is really important. If you don't know what the purpose of your social media content is, it's probably best not to put it up yet. Questions? Rock, paper, scissors.
Hi, I'm Julia Picconi. I work with Diplomatic Security Service Public Affairs, and we have content coming from all over the place, all over the world, through different emails, different channels. Sometimes you'll just be forwarded an email and it's down at the very bottom. So we have a very difficult time kind of managing all of that content, having all of the photos on different, we use Google Drive, OneDrive, Box, all these different places. Do you have a content management resource tool that you recommend?
Yes, so that was a really good question. We post all of our content for social media on Divots, but at the same time, we pull from the field. we have all these districts, units, air stations that have content as well. And so they will share their content with us, and then we have the ability to either amplify what they've already put out on their channels, but also at the same time put it out as organic content. At the same time, we also take an opportunity to meet with some of those folks who are basically helping us drink from a fire hose with all those emails, and just say, hey, look, if you can give us a little bit more advance notice when you need these posts to go out, if it's something that's an annual observance or if it's something that's more of a campaign, let's plan that out and add it to our calendar. Okay? Thank you. Yes?
Hi, my name is Hannah. I'm with DTMO. I have two questions. The first one being, when you're first starting to join social media, do you recommend joining multiple at first or starting with one and then growing and adding on more? And the second question being, when you first join that platform, should the number of posts you're starting with change? Like, should you do more at the beginning, less at the beginning, or should it kind of just be constant throughout?
Okay. So those are really good questions. Let me start with the last one first, and then I'll work my way back. When you create your social media content plan, you should prepare to post at least 3 to 5 times a week, even if it's a new account, and do that. As far as which platforms, for the Coast Guard, if folks have a request for a new account, they have the option of either getting Facebook and Instagram first. The exception is our recruitment folks who prefer to have LinkedIn accounts for obvious reasons. That kind of goes back to the point of who's your target audience, and then doing some research to find out what channels they're on, and then you can decide which is the better channel for sharing your messaging.
Thank you. Dylan Burnell, Corps of Engineers, Charleston District. Regarding the 3 to 5 times per week posting schedule, we're a smaller district. We find that we don't always have stuff to post. There may not be anything new, or we just don't want to put up stuff that we've put out before. So what do you recommend when you find yourself looking at the calendar for the week and you just simply don't have anything to put out?
So that's a really good question. One of the things that we were doing at Coast Guard is we have smaller units as well, and they have some of those same concerns. That's when it's a good opportunity to kind of partner with some of the other districts, air stations, and units, and then collaborate on the content. One of the things that we do that's a little unique is sometimes weekends are hard to do social media posts, right? So my social media team came up with this concept called Instagram Takeover on the weekends. We have a different air station, district, do our content for the weekend. They get to highlight some of the great achievements that the folks are doing there. And then we also get to do some lessons learned at the end. And that helps us with making sure that content is fresh.
Ms. Badicon, we have a question from online from Mr. James Finn from U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Rock Island District. On the subject of personal versus professional profiles, we have several employees that are very proud of their work and share about it on their personal pages. We have asked that these folks send the content to us so we can post it from our organization's page to get it to a broader audience and share the good work they are doing. But it rarely happens. Any tips for getting these employees to allow us, as the organization, to share those posts instead of having the individuals share it from their personal pages?
So that's a really good question. I think a lot of people have noticed recently that there are some social media influencers, depending on which military organization or federal agency, and their content is getting all of the engagement that their organization is looking for. What we do at the Coast Guard is we make sure that we have those conversations and we reach out to folks, make sure that they're comfortable with it, but at the same time we have those conversations with our legal team saying, hey, look, we have some folks, they're doing really good stuff on social media, they're helping to get the message out, kind of iron out any kind of legality issues, and then we go from there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Just turn it on.
It's Zion Dillahunt from Air Force Materiel Command. I'm just wondering, we tend to do a post every day. Is that beneficial, or kind of, bringing it back down to kind of 3 to 5 posts a week more beneficial? And like, what would you say?
So
Because
that's
sometimes, like you said, the weekend seems to be hit or miss. So I've kind of been like on the fence. Like, is it even worth doing weekends?
So that's a very good question. I have a question for you. What do your metrics tell you? Are you looking at your measurements? So that way you can find out what are the days that you have peak engagement versus some days where you may not have as much peak engagement. And then also what kind of content is really getting those numbers that you're looking for or reaching that target audience. If you take a look at that data, you can decide, okay, maybe 7 days a week, if we have the team, but we're not getting the metrics, but this is the content that people are following, then you can kind of course correct on your schedule.
Okay. Well, so for us, it's kind of weird. For the first time ever, I don't know, I know some of us have better accounts than others. So for the first time ever, we hit like 400 likes on a post. Nice. And that's because I just posted like a plane or something for the Air Force or whatever. So I don't know, our audience is weird. It reacts to either aircraft or a general the most, but the weekends definitely tend to be kind of on the lower spectrum, especially Sundays. So that's why I was just thinking like maybe it's not even really worth it. So, but thank you for your opinion.
Also, and you're welcome, what are the posts that are actually getting the better numbers on the weekends? Have you checked that out yet?
Besides that last one with the aircraft, most of the stuff we tend to post on the weekends is more kind of light, family oriented. So, yeah.
Versus the one with the aircraft was more organizational related?
Yeah.
Switch them up.
Okay.
See what happens if you do some of the engagement that's more community outreach related, sprinkle that through the week and do some of your organizational messaging through the weekend, which is what we do with our Instagram takeovers.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm getting on my high horse on this topic again. I bring this up every year. A number of years ago, Facebook changed their algorithm to throttle back government pages. Not necessarily impacting high-level organizations, Department of Navy, Coast Guard, but for smaller organizations it does, because not everyone who follows you will get your content. Right now, the only people allowed to boost content are recruiters and PSYOPs. Is there any consideration within DoD to change that rule to allow smaller organizations to boost posts?
So I won't speak for DoD, I'll defer.
I also will not speak for DoD. It's a good question. Come find me after the break, and let's see if we can get you the best person to talk to you regarding that.
Airman Zhang, 189th Airlift Wing, Air National Guard. So social media-wise for our wing, I don't touch a whole lot of it, but I also do social media as a portion of my civilian job as well. And one thing that I've found super helpful, we do 3 to 5 posts a day, or 3 to 5, probably more 3 a day for my civilian job. And that takes you away from other duties you have. And depending on how big your shop is, social media can be a big time consumption for the day. Getting or purchasing, if you can, a scheduling platform that you can basically do one post or build one post and then be like, I want this to go on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. And you can schedule that out for a week, a month. You can post on weekends, don't even have to worry about it. Just a tool that I found super helpful.
Absolutely, and some of those tools also provide you the data analytics you need to see how your engagement and your reach is working as well. Thank you. Yes. Do you want to go to the mic? For the live streaming audience.
Just turn it on.
Just turn it on. Yes.
Actually kind of sort of built something for us
working for OSD, so that's actually been useful for us. But what are some tools that people can use? I think that would actually be very helpful for anybody watching the live stream who wants to learn more about this.
Right. So to avoid promotion and endorsement, I won't mention any names.
Okay. I
For
understand
obvious
that,
reasons.
yeah.
But I will tell you that some of the better ones are like the one-stop shop that allows you to schedule posts over multiple platforms. And then it allows you to create your data analytics for those posts in a variety of different reports that you can export. Yes.
If you're, with your scheduling out 3 to 5 posts a week, can you talk a little bit about how you prioritize your topics that you cover? Posting only 3 to 5 times a week, but having as many topics that the Coast Guard can cover. How do you decide what's priority and what has to wait till next week?
So I'm glad you brought that up. Again, that goes back to understanding and talking with our leadership to get their priorities, collaborating with our program offices and with our folks out in the field operations, and that's how we create our content that's planned out for the year, which makes it easier for us to know in advance what we're going to publish, and then also use those online tools to schedule it. You're welcome. Yes.
Just give it a second.
For the scheduling, you can use Sprinkler if you're in the Army. Aqua has an account, so reach out to them. I think we're at like 40% capacity. We definitely want people in it, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joey Syke, National Defense University. One of the problems we've run into with splitting personal and professional is with Facebook and the rule that you can only have one account. So we have people that come in that obviously have personal Facebook accounts, and they're very uncomfortable, obviously, using that, but they have to manage our social media account. We've actually had people that have tried setting up separate ones, and those accounts have been shut down. How do you deal with that?
So what we do is we have an official, for example, I'll use our official Coast Guard headquarters Facebook account. Our team, we have a login, we just go ahead and post it, but at the same time, we keep everything on our private accounts separate. And we've just found that as a good battle rhythm. But to your point about, okay, if it's say it's just an account for operational use, we've had a good relationship with our coordination with Facebook, saying, hey, look, this is why we need to have these accounts so that our folks need to log in. These are the folks who are official users, and they use it just to post on the account, and that's how we do it. Yes.
Hello?
Yep. Hi.
Kim Danick, Health and Human Services, Office of Human Services Preparedness and Response. One of the things that you can do if you don't have readily available posts is create evergreen posts. Also, think about the refresh rate of some of the tools that you're using, especially things like X, where, you know, I go on to Twitter, I look X, I go on and I hit refresh and 35 new posts show up, and an hour later I refresh and I've probably missed thousands. So just because you posted something once today at 10 a.m. doesn't mean you couldn't post it next week at 4 p.m. on Thursday for another audience. Also, I mentioned the observances months. There's also weather months, and we have a lot of soldiers, sailors, et cetera, who are outdoors. You can go to weather.gov, they have a calendar, and ready.gov, because we know with global warming, there's so many disasters, fires, hurricanes, whatever. You can go and you can get those preparedness messages, and you can have them as a resource to say, okay, I really don't have something to post today, but we're about a week and a half from Memorial Day weekend. Maybe I can look for some weather-related posts to say, hey, if you're going to be out at a barbecue on Memorial Day weekend, you might think about bug spray, sunscreen, you know, lightning awareness, those sort of things, so that you can keep that content fresh. Last thing, you can also look at last year's posts and refresh them for this year. Some of those posts can be used over and over again if they're not date specific.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can leave it on. Thank you.
So a lot of questions about scheduling, and there is a built-in function in Meta Business Suite that allows you to do that. So that's what we use just as a, now I gotta go get Sprinkler. But so you can go in there, you can post. Again, like she says, we do evergreen stuff on the weekend. We have theme days, so we get all the content for the first week of the month, and then those are scheduled out for the rest of the month on their, Thursday New Soldier Day or whatever that is. And then there was a question about logging in. So for me, I need to know who's making those posts, so I prefer them to have their real account as content creators. So if something goes awry, I know that it's, Ben and not his, handle of I got this. But there is an option in Meta Business that you can add accounts to Twitter. They'll have to use the Meta Business Suite to post instead of the regular Facebook, but that will allow them to do that without connecting to the account with their personal account. So I would look into Meta Business Suite. I think it's a little clunkier to just do all the posting in there, just because I'm used to the platform. But those are some options there for you.
Absolutely. Also, think about collaborating with some of your interagency partners. For example, there are all these different dog or canine observances throughout the year. Well, with DHS, every Wednesday they do a feature on canines, and so we try to make sure that we can get something posted up there. How about May the 4th be with you, right? Everybody put something out about Star Wars on May the 4th, so do we. And so we basically put out not only the important things like preparedness, but we also recognize that there are some things that are in the community that are cultural, that are relevant to everyone.
I have a question. My name is Tammy. I'm with the Marshall Center at Garmisch in Garmisch, Germany. My question is about the platform formerly known as Twitter. Do you guys plan on staying on it? And then did you want to expand into Threads?
Okay, so we will continue to post on X because we already have an established audience there, and they look for the content that we provide there. So that's number one. Two, Threads has not been approved for anyone in the government or in the military to use yet. And that includes doing everything from privacy thresholds to security analysis before it can be approved for any of us to use, even though we know that they have millions of followers that started on their launch day. Organization-wise, we don't have the authority to use it yet, but we know it's being looked into.
Do you have any idea of when, well, I'm saying this with a caveat, it's not even in Europe because hasn't been approved because of their security. But I mean, do you have an idea of when that would be approved?
No.
Thank you.
Right. So again, because we have two parents, DOD and DHS, they are the ones who are the policymakers for which platforms we can and cannot officially use. And so it's on their timetable, not the Coast Guard.
Hi, Riley Wilson from NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology. We were talking a little bit about weekend posting and whether it was appropriate or not, and I wanted to share a little anecdote, which is the bottom line or the message of the story is it's all based on what your goal is for each post. So once a week, we're doing job roundups, posting a number of jobs to just one post on LinkedIn. And we didn't see a lot of engagement. It didn't really do very well. And so then we decided, let's just mix things up and start posting those job roundups on Sundays. And the mentality was, okay, well, people might not be searching for jobs during the week, but on the weekend, they might start looking a little bit more. And we saw a significant amount of engagement boost. And
good.
So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
It was very good. So I think that's a really good point, because although we have these Instagram takeovers where we can highlight what our folks are doing out in the field, sometimes people also just want to have news or learn about some of our other Coast Guard programs. So we have something which is called the Thin Blue Line that drops every Sunday that provides that kind of content for our audience.
Already. Hello?
All right. What is your stance on hashtags, and should we be incorporating them? Should we create our own? What are your thoughts on that?
Hashtags rock, absolutely. Hashtags also help people find your content. You could also see how it's trending. You can also see when your partner agencies are also amplifying your messages because they're able to use your hashtags, so they're very helpful.
Still on. So Kim Danek, Emergency Preparedness and Response. We use a lot of hashtags for things like disaster events, like the Hawaii fires right now. Human trafficking in disaster incidents is high in construction and in other fields. So we put out things like, if you see someone who doesn't get paid well and can't leave their job, they may be a victim of human trafficking. And then you put hashtag Surfside Towers, like Miami when the tower collapsed. So be careful with the hashtags that you're not overusing them or you're using them incorrectly, because during Hurricane Sandy, there was a clothing manufacturer who said, oh, look, our new Sandy shoe must be trending well because we see numbers huge, high. Well, they got hammered on social media because people were using hashtag Sandy for Hurricane Sandy, not for the clothing line's shoe, hashtag Sandy. But look at the hashtags, test them out before you use them to make sure that it's not being used somewhere and you aren't using it incorrectly, and then experiment with it.
That's very important. So we have a strategic communications team. They make our toolkits for some of our content that we post online for our calendar. And we collaborate on the hashtags. And then we also test them. Thank you.
We have a question from online from Mr. James Zeig. Should products for social media be co-developed for brick and mortar release, like through in-service publications, broadcasts, et cetera? Or should social media be treated as their own stovepipe?
That's a really good question. I like to think of social media as part of our integrated online digital communications tool, right? So you have the social media for your online community. There are some folks who prefer print. There are other folks who prefer other forms of media. And so using an integrated digital marketing approach allows you to get that content out to all of your target audiences, again, on each of the channels where they go to for their latest news.
Thank you. Final questions?
Captain Emily Seaton from 20th Air Force. So since I'm a numbered Air Force in the office of one, I tend to amplify my wings or my MAGCOM. Is there a good balance between amplifying other people's messages versus having your own original content? Because sometimes I feel like a lot of my posts are just sharing other people's things, you know?
Right. So that's a really good question. The team that I lead, we balance it out so that we create both organic content through the week. We also amplify messages from the field, but then we also know that we get those leadership messages that you must post, and we put those out as well. So it's a good balance, and again, that kind of goes back to what are your communication goals, who's your target audience, and then mapping out that content in advance.
Ms. Badicon, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Everyone, thank you.
Wait, Ms. Badicon, before you leave the podium, on behalf of the Defense Information School, Colonel McNorton would like to present you with a certificate of appreciation and a DINFOS coin. Thank you very much for your insights this morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we head on break here, just a couple of announcements. One, we just ask that you be respectful of everyone else's things in here. I think we all have some bags and stuff that are here, so if you move them over or you're saving a seat for someone, please just make sure you talk to the person first, just out of respect. The second thing is, check in for your flights. if you've got a flight upcoming after this or tomorrow, just friendly public service announcement reminder, check in for your flights. So if there's nothing else, we're going to go on break, and please be back in here for 10:30 for our next speaker. Thank you.